Welcome, everyone, to Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Live. I was just pinning our YouTube onto our Twitter here so everyone could watch via Twitter. I'm Andy Kretzinger. I'm with my co-host, Hunter Moeller. I was going to call you Denim Dan Hunter, but you took your denim jacket off, so
behind me.
Yeah, I should have told you to keep that on. And we got Nick Steffens, as always, over there running the sounds and the video and the cameras. And do you have a camera that can turn to yourself? Ah, that's disappointing. Anyway.
Go to Washington Live and see what he looks like.
Yeah, if you want to see what it looks like, go to any other show on this entire station. So if you're watching this, you're on Washington Live's YouTube, Washington Live's Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live's Facebook, Fairfield Live's Facebook, or Washington Live's Spotify, listen or video. And we've got a busy day.
Yep.
I want to start on a sad note because something real sad happened this week. Of course, Mike Leach, who was a legendary college football coach, currently, was the coach at Mississippi State, but also was the old offensive coordinator for Iowa Wesleyan in the 90s when the air raid offense was born. Passed away a couple days ago, and we were talking about it in the car, and just it's sad news. We'll have something that Iowa Wesleyan wrote up on Fridays in Friday's newspaper. Sad. What do you have any favorite Mike Leach stories?
I don't know. I was watching some videos of some of his great interviews with, and there were just things from talking about weddings, and he said, he's like, go elope, save your money or something like that. I don't know. There was another one about candy corn. They're asking him his favorite Halloween candy, and he was talking about hating candy corn, just like, I don't know. I've never seen as crazy interviews as that guy gave. So
yeah, that wedding thing I was gonna bring. So that's my favorite one he's ever done, and it happened really close after I got a wedding. And after he says to go up, he's describing. You'll learn about this pretty soon. Getting ready for a wedding, and he said, oh yeah, she'll ask you about what colors do you want and what songs and stuff, but your opinion really doesn't matter because no matter what you say, she's already got it all in her brain. And everything he said was so funny and so true, and it happened right after my wedding, maybe a couple years after. And so I always laugh at that one. But I never got to meet him. He did come back to Mount Pleasant for a football camp in, I think, 2011. And whenever he talks about people from Iowa, he just say the nicest things about people from Iowa. So very sad news there. Kind of happened suddenly this week. So it's a little sad news to start the day out. But we'll have something on remembering him on Fridays that Iowa Wesleyan wrote up, and they have a cool picture of him when he was coaching, and he's got lights of black and white. He's got the whiteboard out. But anyway,
who's the coach in Hal Mumme?
Hal Mumme was the head coach. Mike Leach is there. Dana Holgerson, who coaches now at
Houston.
Mm-hmm. He played for that team, and he actually went to Mount Pleasant. In fact, there's a good story out there. I'm not sure if this is a Sports Illustrated story. I think this was one on GoCougs.com, the Houston website, when Mike Leach was playing Dana Holgerson when Houston was playing West Virginia. Or it was a job ago for Dana. They had this story about when they were in Mount Pleasant and Iowa and all that stuff, and they have a story about Dana Holgerson playing for Mount Pleasant, and he played at the same time as Brent Broker, who's the baseball coach at Mount Pleasant, and they were at the same high school, and they have this funny story about how they used to get into it on the court. They're both hot-headed or whatever, and so if you search there, we put it on our, it's probably on our website somewhere because they let us run that story, but that's, maybe we could have I'm not sure if we have room for a rerun, but we'll definitely on Friday have something about that. But anyway, on the positive note, it's basketball season still. I got my hair cut to celebrate. I don't want to look like a real basketball player. My hair's always. I used to actually. One of the reasons I let my hair grow out in the first place was because I liked it when Steve Nash would make a shot and then part his hair to the side. I thought that was pretty cool. But we're going to start with our big schools, and we both got to see a little bit of Washington, at least Washington boys. The last week or so. So tell me, you were just watching the Demons last night. That had a big comeback win.
Yeah, they took on Oskaloosa. Obviously, the first time we saw Oskaloosa this year was against Fairfield, and I remember right, that game went to overtime. So, and we always talk about these teams being close, but Washington, like you said, comeback win last night. They ended up winning at 54-43. Wasn't a pretty first half for the Demons. They led for much of the first quarter, but then a pair of threes at the end of the first quarter. Put them down 15-13 heading into the second, and then Oskaloosa kind of turned it on. Washington scored 4 points in the first two minutes, but didn't score again until there was about 2 minutes to go. Oskaloosa ended up winning that quarter 17-8 and headed into halftime with a 32-21 lead. And, as much of a sloppy first half it was for them, they were only down 11, which is one of the things, Coach Stark kind of talked about, which, they felt good even though they played, not up to what they wanted to play as. They still felt good. They were only down 11. And then in the second half, they played some of their best basketball, at least I've seen this season. Didn't give up a single point in the third quarter. Outscored Oskaloosa 15-0 and allowed just 11 in the fourth. Won the fourth quarter 18-11. So 11 points in the second half. I told Coach Stark, I said, yeah, that'll win you some games. You keep doing that. So, for them, the big thing afterwards is, they got to start out hot. I mean, obviously we've seen them get down in double digits. They've had to come back and win it a couple times this season. One's against Fairfield, but the biggest thing for them was, just getting that hot start, because really if they play like that the whole game, it's a blowout win, and it's not even a game. So
I was really surprised to see that they were down how they were at half. I saw Washington in a really big game on Friday.
Yep.
They played Burlington. Burlington boys played at Washington, and that was a matchup of Washington and Burlington have been the best teams in the SEC in the last 3 years. They've either been first and second, or I think there was a year they're first and third, and for my money, it's worth looking at the field right now. It looks like they're two of the best four. Washington dominated the second half of that. They were only up by 2 at halftime. Ended up winning that one 59-44. Ethan Patterson had 20 points, including his 1,000th career point, which happened. Sometimes you get close to a milestone and you start missing shots, but he hit a three right at the beginning of the third quarter, and a bunch of the kids had signs up for him. So that was a huge one for Washington, who is now 2-0 and going to play 2-0 Mount Pleasant for first place in the SEC. That's one of the biggest games. It kind of reminds me of last year Washington and Mount Pleasant Washington and Fairfield played a game similar to that. It was in Fairfield, and I remember just the buzz in Fairfield last year when I'm not sure if they were both 2-0, but it was first place was on the line, I believe, and it was a really big deal. And that's the atmosphere in Mount Pleasant's going to be pretty crazy on Friday night. But AJ6 scored 16. Something about Washington is Ethan Patterson obviously is such a good guard, but every player that's not Ethan Patterson is tall and lanky and can score inside. So they only ran 7-8 deep against Burlington, but everyone shot pretty well, so they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like we haven't seen them put a complete game together yet. So it's gonna be scary once they do that. But what about the girls? I mean, obviously the girls are looking
fantastic. They're
real good.
Yeah, the girls are still in first place. They got a little bit of a scare in Burlington.
Yep.
The girls are very balanced, it seems, so far. In Burlington, they won 47-41 this weekend. Alex Murphy had 12 points. Adeline Long, 11. Their freshmen are really good. Adeline Long's had a really good start to the season. And then one day later, they went to Davis County, and it was a total
tight one.
It was a tight one, but it was a high-scoring one instead. 70-74 over Davis County. Alex Murphy had 22 in that. Adeline Long had 20. So Adeline Long, those are some pretty big numbers for a freshman.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was talking to Coach Rugg about when I've talked to him this season is just how proud he is of the younger kids stepping up. And we're seeing that kind of mesh perfectly with the kids that have been there, done that on the varsity level, and now they're coming in here and showcasing their skills. So I mean, what more can you say about Washington? Looking where they were at last year to this year is completely different. So
yeah,
kudos to them.
So the Washington girls, they have a lot of depth because of that.
Yeah.
They were they're all pretty even last year, and last year they only got a few wins, but they had a lot. You could kind of see it coming. They stopped turning the ball over a lot towards the end of the year. They got a couple wins. They had a couple close games against better teams, and so this year they're right in the fray. And speaking of Washington versus Mount Pleasant, the Mount Pleasant girls will be at Washington on Friday. Mount Pleasant comes in 1-1, and Washington is 2-0, and that's a marquee matchup. And we both saw the Mount Pleasant girls recently too. You saw them on Friday in a huge win. I told Kurt Watson, the head coach from Mount Pleasant girls, that I went to Washington. I said I'm not covering the Mount Pleasant girls against Keokuk because I'm their bad luck when they play against Keokuk, and Watson knows it. So he told me to stay away last time I saw him. But you saw that big win over Keokuk, and can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, what more can you say? It was a huge win. Obviously, coming into this one, Mount Pleasant wins at 51-46 in overtime. And, I kind of made this an emphasis in the story. 12 straight games that Keokuk has beaten Mount Pleasant. And they finally get one. I mean, they played a couple close ones last year, but
they did.
Expect nothing less out of this one. Mount Pleasant won the first 8-7. Won the second 13-9, and Keokuk began to hit some shots. Started hitting some threes from outside in that second half. Still won the third 14-13. Keokuk bounced back in the fourth of the big quarter 14-7. Mount Pleasant had a chance. Andrea Lopriato had a chance to win it with about 2 seconds left. She drove. Did a kind of Euro step layup, and it just was a little bit too strong off the front of the rim, and Mount Pleasant took over in overtime. Didn't really have a problem. Won the overtime period 8-3, and Andrea Lopriato went off for 31 in that game. And
31. How many rebounds did she have? Didn't she have a ridiculous? It was like 31 and 28 or something crazy like that.
Let me double check here. It was 18 rebounds, 31 and 18 rebounds.
That is pretty.
Andy
incredible.
Scott had 10 as well. So I mean.
I saw this. So I saw them play against Benton on Monday, and Benton is a ranked team, number 4. And so, but after the first quarter, they played them a little bit. And you can kind of tell that Mount Pleasant's got a very athletic team. Early in the season, they had foul trouble where girls would get a couple of fouls right off the bat, and they never really played. And then Tristan Scholl was hurt for a while, so it was fun to see them play with everybody. Even in my game, obviously, they're going against an opponent that's probably going to be up at state, but that's a big one. And Keokuk's always the favorite. That's the rule in SEC girls basketball is no matter what, Keokuk is going to be one of the favorites. And right now, Fort Madison and Washington are 2-0 in the girls basketball, but I think that Mount Pleasant and Keokuk are right there, and so speaking of Mount Pleasant boys have been on a roll leading into this Washington game. The Demons and Panthers are both going to be playing some of their best basketball, which is fun. I got to watch them play Benton. It was a doubleheader on Monday, and right after beating Keokuk by 30 points, 55-27, not even 30 points on Friday. They came out. Benton was a good team. They almost beat Mid-Prairie. Benton almost beat Iowa City Regina, and their only other games were against Mount Vernon and West Delaware, and it was all Mount Pleasant. Peyton Higgins went for 29 points. He just pretty much dominated from the second quarter to the fourth quarter. They played a lot of guys, and they won out by 30 points. 65-35 was the final, which is against a team like Benton. That's a pretty big boost. So Mount Pleasant's looking pretty good, and I really wish. So next year they're going to go to doubleheaders for the SEC. Man, if that Washington Mount Pleasant thing was a doubleheader this weekend, it would be even more of a packed house than it is. But they'll be playing at the same time. The girls will be playing in Washington, and the boys will be playing in Mount Pleasant. So. Both. I expect both to be really good games. I expect both to be absolute coin flips.
Yep. Every year it seems like we're saying that.
And we're gonna have 6 coin flips because the Fairfield Trojans will be playing Burlington this weekend, and I think that those games are games that the Trojans can win or lose. It's not a must-win, but it's you'd really like to win on the boys' side,
right?
Because Fairfield and Burlington both dropped those games to Washington, and I think that those two teams are SEC championship contenders. So you got to see Fairfield last week, but they were on the road on Friday, and we were at Mount Pleasant, Washington on Friday. But boys-wise, the Trojan boys almost pulled off a pretty big one last night, right?
Yeah, they took on Pella, and we talked about Washington versus Pella. And we said Pella's always got a tough team, but last night. Fairfield gave Pella quite the fight. I mean, looking at this one, it's a 3-point loss for Fairfield, 52-49. Pella led 18-13 after one. Fairfield bounced back in the second, won it by a slim margin, 12-11. At the half, they were down 29-25. Pella kind of pulled away a little bit heading into the fourth. They won the third 12-18. But Fairfield really turned it on in that fourth quarter, won at 16-11. And, looking at this one, couple possessions go in the way of Fairfield, and very well, this is a win for Fairfield. And if they win this one, I'm sure they're feeling great about themselves. And we talked about Max Ween goes for 21 and 10, and JJ Lane, we kind of thought he was injured or something like that, or something.
Yeah, he had a game where he didn't play. That's all we knew on that.
We knew he didn't play, but he didn't start this game, so we don't know what's going on with that exactly. But I mean, if you're Fairfield and you only lose the Pella by 3, and history-wise, it hasn't really been close, I guess. But at least the past few years, you're feeling pretty good after this one.
Yeah, you are. And I think Fairfield's potential, their ceiling is very, very, very high because they have so much experience. And they have Max Wheaton, who's put up 19 and 18 the other day. He scored, 22 and 10 last night.
20.
And their guards are very experienced, especially those three, Lane, Wheaton, and Tate Allen. And so they have, they're right up there. The Burlington Fairfield game in Fairfield is the boys' game this Friday. That's going to be a huge one for the SEC race. The girls have had a really tough couple of games.
They lost so much.
They lost so much, and they had to play against Fort Madison, who's on a roll right now. 67-17 Fort Madison last night. Pella 79-27 Pella. So Fairfield's got a rough stretch there, but they're coming into some games that are winnable. And I think on Friday night they're playing against Burlington. Let me check to see the last time Burlington beat Fairfield in girls basketball. I guarantee you it was a while ago. Fairfield dominates that series. Let's see if looks like there is no record on Varsity Bound, which means it was before 2018. But Burlington and Fairfield didn't always play until Burlington got the SEC. But since Burlington has been in the conference, they have not beaten Fairfield in girls basketball. So we'll see if the Trojans can keep it up and scoop up a first win and get a little momentum going. Yeah. But speaking of getting a little momentum going, we're going to take the momentum from that basketball talk, and we're gonna go right into a commercial. So we got a couple minutes, I believe, 2 minutes.
Yep.
So sit tight, and we will be right back.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
We're back. 2 minutes flew by like always, mostly because we're scrambling to get more notes on what we're about to talk about. But we're going to jump right into some basketball. You're watching us, Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Live. If you don't know where to watch us by now, how are you watching us? I mean, really? Did you stumble upon us? We were playing in a sports bar or something. Washington Live's YouTube, Washington Live's Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live's Facebook, Fairfield Live Facebook, and on Spotify. I was in Danville, Iowa, beautiful Danville, Iowa last night, so I could catch some Van Buren County basketball. I did not realize this. Van Buren County is going through some illness. Head coach Marley Hall for the girls, not there last night because she was sick, and Trey Mignani was there, but he wasn't feeling very good, and they've had some players out and stuff. But last night they had a doubleheader against Danville, Super Conference South matchup. Danville takes both 60-52 in the girls' game, 61-47 in the boys' game. The two games were almost the exact same thing. Danville got out to a big lead. In both games, Van Buren had a little rush, especially in the girls' game where they were down 42-29 going into the fourth quarter. Ivy Davidson, a junior, posted for them. And also the daughter of Brad Davidson, who was the assistant, who was the head coach last night. She went off 27 points, pretty much unstoppable inside last night. The Warriors didn't hit a ton of outside shots, but scored, I said, 27 out of their 52 points. They cut it down to 5 points a couple times. Annabelle Cormier had a 3 with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Cut it down to 5, and then Davidson had a layup to cut it down to 5 again. But Danville was making their free throws late. They had a lot of 1-and-1s. I think they hit every front end. So Van Buren County's girls couldn't quite get them last night. And then the boys, it was the same thing. Danville is a huge team. They lost a lot of players from last year, but they have a lot of size, and Van Buren County is definitely one of our smaller schools. And so Van Buren County tried to press. Danville you just kind of beat them up down low a little bit, and the press didn't quite work in the first half for Van Buren County. They went down at a halftime 37-24. In the third and fourth, they had a couple of spurts there, but just was not to be. Danville picks up a South Division. It's hard to win in the Super Conference period this year, but in the South Division, when you got Danville, New London, West Burlington, Notre Dame, Mediapolis now. So it was a stacked game.
Very stacked field.
And so you've got some other girls action for us from last night.
Yeah. We'll go through the list here of the teams that played and the winners and whatnot. But first up, we got Waco 49, Highland 20. Waco continued to improve on the season. We've seen a couple of them play a couple of good games so far. Mid Prairie 48, Wilton 39. Mid Prairie, Wilton go at it every year. No different this year. Mediapolis 77, New London 31. So another tough one for the Tigers. We know Mediapolis is really good, as stout as they come. And Davis County 73 and Cardinal 31. And we saw what Davis County did against Washington, made it a close game, and Cardinal having a little bit of a down year, but.
There you go. Well, you know what? I'm going to flip back into the boys basketball roundup, and you're going to get some good news, Cardinal fans, because the Cardinal Comets are now winners in the South Central Conference. They couldn't, if I remember correctly, they couldn't quite do it in volleyball. They hadn't got one in boys or girls basketball. It's very earlier in the year. Last night, 73-66 against Davis County. They had to hold them off. Montana Roop had 28 points to lead the way for those guys. New London 56-42 over Mediapolis. Although I will say I asked the porters for this one, and the whole family gave me some answers. 56-42. They didn't have the sheet with them, but 56-42 was the 1-2 out of the 3. They couldn't quite remember the final score. They won by 14. So hopefully that's right. They were checking on it last time I checked. Mid Prairie and Wilton. Wilton 67, Mid Prairie 49. Wilton is stacked this year, and that was the first time, and it ranked first time in 13 games that Wilton was able to beat Mid Prairie. Wilton was really good last year, and Mid Prairie beat them. Let's see, Keota 77-35 over English Valleys. They bounced right back from that Waco loss last weekend, and they're rolling. Speaking of Waco, 78-17 over Highland last night. Waco had a ridiculous first quarter, 38-5 after the first quarter. Hunter Hughes had 19 points in that one. Hillcrest Academy and Pekin gave Hillcrest a nice little game last night. They held Grant Bender to 9 points, which you almost never see. They couldn't quite pull it off. Hillcrest Academy 40, Pekin 32. Luke Schrock with 13 in that for Hillcrest Academy. And then Wapello Columbus. Columbus was only down a couple baskets at halftime. In fact, 19-14 at halftime. Wapello just exploded last night in the second half, 52-26. Indians over the Wildcats. So a couple of winners and a couple of losers, and Winfield was a couple teams off. Winfield was off last night. It wasn't quite a full day, but congratulations to especially Cardinal, because they were looking for that first win in the new conference. And they just
tough teams over there.
They just happen to be jumping into the conference when a lot of the teams in general in sports are up. With softball season, Cardinal will
give them pretty good. I know you.
That's a really good softball conference too. But
you love to hear that.
Cardinal will hand them some losses in softball season, so don't worry, they're going to get them. But I was good to see the boys basketball team last night, and I was really impressed with Pekin. Because Hillcrest has been on a roll.
Look at that game they put against Winfield. That was overtime and.
And then Well, there you go. So those are our boys basketball scores. We're going to jump back into a commercial. We probably should have had a commercial earlier. Because now we got back-to-back commercials. So you commercial lovers over there that skip through the sports talk and our banter and stuff and just watch for the commercials, we got a present for you, because we're going back to commercials real quick. Another 2 minutes, I believe, and we will be right back.
Protection is important, especially when you're talking about your dreams, which is why we're going to keep you covered with plans that can save you up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto. That's protection.
Family owned and operated by Andy and Sarah Ross, Ross Auto has been your vehicle repair and maintenance headquarters since 1935. We specialize in all makes of cars and light-duty trucks. With our variety of available services, let us help you keep rolling and your vehicle operating efficiently. Services include general auto repair, alignments, brakes, fuel injection, and more. Schedule your appointment today at 319-653-5656. That's 319-653-5656.
And we're back. Breaking news on Southeast Iowa Union Sports
give
Talk.
It to 'em.
For everyone who thought France was up 2-0 in their World Cup game, I just checked the score app and they must have got that goal taken away. So good thing. I was going to actually start the show with breaking news that France had scored their second goal. So hopefully that spoiled it for some people. Soccer spoilers are tough because there's not a lot of goals. It's 1-0. So if you want any spoilers, just skip to 74 minutes in. France up 1-0 on Morocco. Winner plays Argentina. I don't know when. Sometime. I tell you what, USA got knocked out and I tuned completely out of that thing. I wanted to it was going to be a funny little joke that I had where I was going to I tried to rig my phone up to give me notifications on goals, and I wanted to see if there was like a thing that said goal whenever somebody scored, and I was going to play it as an example, and then it was going to be funny because more likely nobody was going to score in the 30 minutes that we have the show, but that joke didn't happen, so there we go. So why don't we talk about some wrestling? Another tournament weekend in wrestling. We have we have a hard time covering all the tournaments and stuff on Saturday, but give me what happened.
But I'll just go through my list here that we made up here. So the teams that competed in their top finisher. So Mount Pleasant was up at the Grinnell Tiger Duels up there in Grinnell. So their top finishers of the day, Bowen Davis and William Birdsell, both picked up a pair of wins at 145 and 182. Washington was at the Mount Vernon Invitational over the weekend. The Demons finished 7th as a team. Their one lone winner on the day was Chase Greiner at 160. Sigourney Kyoto was also at the Invitational, competed, and they finished 9th. Renee Utterbeck, we were kind of talking about her, how good she was last year. She was a top finisher in the meet. At 106, she was first place finisher. She's wrestling against the boys too.
It's a girl that's wrestling against the boys. I think that's the whole season. She's not allowed to do both. I believe from what I've heard, but she went to state last year, so she wanted a little better. So awesome.
Yeah. And then Van Buren County, Cardinal, and Waco were all at the Tri-County English Valleys tournament. Van Buren finished 4th, Waco took 7th, and Cardinal finished 10th. The Warriors' two winners on the day were the Warriors of Van Buren. Two winners on the day were Dirk Boyles and TJ Jirak at 145 and 126. Let's see here for Waco, Louding Housing Gate was a first place finisher at 160. For Cardinal, Isaac Hawks was a third place finisher. That was their highest finisher. Columbus Winfield Mount Union wrestled as well. The Wildcats competed at the against Colfax, Mingo, Burlington, Notre Dame, Des Moines, Hoover North. That's a handful.
That is a handful.
But Jacob Nelson, Ty Scorpill, Bowen Thompson, Sheedon Adams, Dante Zunga, however you say his name.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
Our
Dante
first name mess up today.
Riley Kalberg, Ethan Palmer, Kai Malone, and Russell Cool were all winners. Let's see here. And then Pekin also competed, but Pekin didn't have anybody finish in the top 8. So another busy weekend of wrestling.
Another busy weekend. I was going to say, you mentioned Lane's Corporal there.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned
Ty
Scorpill. Lane's Corporal is one of just jumped into the NAIA wrestling rankings for Iowa Wesleyan. So that you just reminded me. I was trying to figure out. I tried to click on to remember exactly where he jumped, but that's really cool. He's wrestling for Iowa Wesleyan, and they're doing well as always. This Today's Wednesday if you're watching this. Tomorrow night's a conference day in wrestling. Just a few matchups. Mid Prairie and Mount Pleasant are going to go at it tomorrow night, along with Fort Madison and a triangular in Mount Pleasant. Washington hosts Keokuk tomorrow night. Fairfield's got a triangular in Burlington. It's against Burlington and Tipton. I believe that's in Burlington tomorrow. So a big night there. Watch out. We'll have it on Twitter. At least the ones that we're at. I believe that you will be in Washington and I will be in Mount Pleasant tomorrow night for some wrestling. So some stuff coming up. We also have some bowling, and we had a Union area clash between Fairfield and Mount Pleasant the other day, and it was a pretty darn close one, wasn't it?
Pretty close one. The Fairfield boys down Mount Pleasant, 2,631 pins to 2,271 pins, and the Panther girls picked up a win over the Trojans, so they split on the day, 2,081 pins to 1,942 pins. For the Fairfield boys, Dason Workman was the highest finisher with 391 total pins. For the Mount Pleasant boys, Alec Payne led with 343 pins, and on the girls' side, Mount Pleasant's Addison McGearty was the highest placer with the most pins with 299. Oh, correction. Bethany Brewery also they both tied 299 pins.
Shout out Chad Drury.
Yeah. Right. And then for Fairfield, Elizabeth Hootman, she actually finished first overall, edged both of those previous two by 1 pin with 300 total pins. So, say this a lot. It seems like every sport.
Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, right?
Fairfield, Mount Pleasant. It's going to be a close one, and we saw it again with, Mount Pleasant girls edging by about just a little over 100 pins, and then the boys a little more lopsided in that one. But
we'll see. I'll be looking for both those teams. They're a little bit behind Keokuk still. I don't think I know Mount Pleasant played Keokuk. Keokuk just dominates in bowling.
Yeah, for the last
however long, and Mount Pleasant and Fairfield are right on the cusp this year. They're a little bit back of Keokuk right now, so we'll see if they can make those improvements by the SEC meet and the district meet and all that stuff. If they can, assuming they're all paired together, if they can go at it. And Washington is low on numbers this year for sure. So a lot of their meets will be on. Some of them are unscored team wise. Before we go, I wanted to mention we talked about Iowa Wesleyan a little bit this morning, or not this morning. Like this is an all day show. At the beginning of the show, when we talked about Mike Leach, and then I mentioned their wrestling a second ago, but they had some huge basketball wins last night. These, I believe, are the last two before winter break. The men's team is receiving votes from the NAIA poll right now. So they're right on the cusp of the top 25. They were at St. Ambrose last night, 70-64 winners. Alante Pickens had 15 points to lead the way. And the women's team, who, for the life of me, I can't understand why they're not getting any votes in the NAIA poll, because they're at 8-2 now or something like that. That's actually, I robbed them right there. They've got a better record than that. They played at Grace College. It's a game. Grace College is receiving votes in the NAIA top 25 poll. Coach Steve Williamson pointed to that as a really big game in December. They won that 60-56. Isabel West with 19 points and 9 rebounds. She's pretty much dominated every time I've seen her this year. So that's the younger sister of Brittany West, who, if you're an Iowa Wesleyan basketball fan, she was one of the best players in the conference last year. I believe won conference tournament player of the year last year. And her sister came over from Murray State. And pretty soon, I'm going to make a prediction right now that Iowa Wesleyan women and men at some point this year might be top 25 both. So I think they're going to get ranked here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, I think we got to say congratulations to Coach Williamson over there. He just tied Olin Robo, which Robo Arena's named after for total wins as the women's coach. So 274 wins.
274. So the road to 275. So let's see here. Let me pull up here the next women's game. Hopefully it's at home to see if somebody who commented on there joking that they're going to rename it to Olin, something like Rubel Williamson Arena or something like that. I saw that on Facebook. They'll be at Bellevue on the 29th, and they'll be at Mayville State on the 30th. So they don't have a home game for a while. He'll probably break that on the road.
Yep.
But that's an exciting thing for Coach Williamson and the Williamson fans. So shout out Williamson fam.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. You want me to do a quick World Cup check before we go? Any predictions? Anyone predictions? It was 1-0 like 10 minutes ago. Don't cheat.
Oh, I already cheated.
Oh.
You take a guess.
What do you got? 2-0? It is 2-0. Did you know? Okay, it's 2-0 France. So break. You know what? There's 7 minutes.
So is it 7 minutes to go? Is it gonna
7 minutes to go?
Argentina, France. Who you got?
Oh, I was gonna go ahead and guarantee victory for France right now.
Yeah, I was.
Morocco is out.
Yep.
If you bet on Morocco today, just tear that slip up. Argentina, France, I know nothing about either of them. Oh man, I was going to make a funny joke. I messed up 2 jokes today because I was going to open this. I was going to open the show with an announcement that the red, white, and blue was heading to the World Cup final, and it's going to be France. That was going to be funny, but it didn't happen. I'm going to pick France. They're going to win 2 in a row, and then it's going to be a big thing when America hosts it next year that France is going for the 3rd straight. Who you got?
I'm gonna go out since it's Messi's last time playing, and he's probably one of the best, top 2 ever to play. Mm-hmm. We'll give it to him this year.
So you're more of a soccer, international soccer head than I am. Would you say
like
Pele, and then
Ronaldo?
Well, no, I'm saying like top 2. You say he's top 2 all time. Is that Messi and Pele?
Well, there's Pele, there's Ronaldo. You could make the argument. You can make the argument. You can make the argument.
All right. Anyway,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So watch the World Cup. Whatever. I'm sure we'll have. We'll probably forget to say anything about the World Cup. We don't cover the World Cup.
In 4 years?
In 4 years, I have the United States to disappoint like always. So I don't follow international soccer except during the World Cup. I can tell you about high school and Wesleyan soccer, but nothing about international soccer. So breaking news: red, white, and blue. Be proud, red, white, and blue to the championship, France. All right, well, we'll see you. we're done. I'm Andy Crutzing, Hunter Moeller, Nick Steffens, Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Live, and we'll see you next week.